Hello YTPC, Joshua Stewart, Pipe Up North. As you can see, I'm in the tent up north in the woods. The highway down the way is kind of busy by the sound of it today. But what do you expect? We're in kind of a tourist area on a weekend, so. I think everybody's trying to get their last fishing in or camping or whatever because they realize they didn't get it done this summer, so. Might as well get out of the way right away. I am smoking some Peterson 3Ps in my modified Missouri Meerschaum Ozark. This is the one that I modified by adding an extension to the shank there. The reason I chose this pipe is because I had a bowl of this 3Ps the other night. It knocked me on my butt, so I figured I'll use a pipe with a smaller bowl so I'm not tempted to fill it too full. Now we're... Why don't I show you... Excuse me, why don't I show you this plug real quick? It's kind of cool. It's one of the... Probably one of the denser plugs that I've seen. Now this tin, it's one of the thicker tins. It's like twice as thick as a regular tin. When I opened that up, I was thinking at first, whoa, did they send me a 3.5 ounce tin instead of a 1 3/4 ounce? Or 100 gram versus a 50 gram. But it didn't really feel that heavy, so open it up and a little puck there, and opened up the flap stuff, and it was like, it's mostly air in there. But what we have is one thick, heavy, looks like a brownie that you could almost eat, and it kind of almost has a fruity smell. And see, I'm not very good at picking out the flavors of stuff, but what it reminded me of, that's what everybody always says, that's what it reminded me of, was like plum, apricot, something like that. So a little bit of a, what do they call that, the dark fruit smell. But I mean, I don't think you could get this to bite you if you tried. So pretty smooth. But maybe it's how I cut it too, because I cut it into like paper thin slices and then broke it up. It seemed a little moist, but I only gave it a couple minutes of dry time and it seems to be smoking fine. You do need to relight it a little bit, especially if you're talking a lot. But yeah, I picked this little mini Ozark. I say just because it's got a smaller bowl and I'm less tempted to fill it up, because when I had it, my first bowl the other night, I think I just tried it in one of my Missouri Meerschaum Legend corn cobs. Which, if you know, they've got kind of the smaller end of average bowls, I would say. And like I say, I got halfway through and I had to stop for a little bit. It was hitting me too hard. I think I'm developing a little bit of a tolerance to the nicotine, but man, I still got to be careful. Talking about the nicotine, a thought ran across my mind while I was working on some of my projects up here today. And I think I might have figured out why there aren't very many pipe smokers left in the world. Because of nicotine. I'm thinking that like in the 80s when the public health stuff was really cracking down on smoking, they didn't really differentiate cigarettes versus pipe versus cigars. And my thinking is that all the smokers thought, well, maybe I better try to quit. Well, the pipe smokers weren't addicted to nicotine, so they could quit. The cigarette smokers couldn't. That's why the cigarette smoking lingered still decades later. There's still probably half of what it was in the 80s, but probably less than half of what it was in the 80s as far as number of smokers. But pipe smokers is just maybe 5% or less of what it was 40 years ago. So that's the kind of stuff I think of when I'm putzing around on different things. So that's my thought as to why there aren't many pipe smokers, because when they were told to quit, they could. Or the cigarette smokers were physically addicted to the nicotine, they couldn't quit. So anyway, I got up here. I was planning on getting up here about 8 o'clock last night. Or, well, I wanted to get up here about 6 o'clock because I took off work early, thinking that if I got up here at 6, I could still have a couple hours of daylight because it gets dark around 8 o'clock right now. Well, I didn't leave home until what would have put me at arriving probably right at dark. So by that time I was expecting to get here 8 o'clock or a little after. But then I had to stop at the grocery store and get a little bit of food so I could eat while I'm up here. Well, then of course I couldn't find what I was looking for, and finally I found the spot on the shelf and they were out. Then I had to figure out something else to get instead. So what should have been a 10 minutes or less in the grocery store turned into close to a half hour. And I had to stop at Menards and get a few supplies for the stay, so. That, there again, should have been 20 minutes at Menards and it turned into an hour or better. And the Menards I stop at is about an hour away from the property here yet. So it was actually about dark when I left Menards. It was after dark. Because yeah, it was about 9 o'clock when I left Menards. I must have spent an hour and a half in there. Like, oh, whatever, I'm just trying to figure things out as I recollect, piecing it all together. So, left Menards at 9. Figure, okay, I'll get up here about 10. Which I was on pace to do that until about halfway between here and there. Happened to look down at my temperature gauge, and it was the Suburban I was taking was running a little bit hot. Not overheating hot, but to the point that I didn't like running it that hot. And there no lights were coming on or anything, or dash warnings, but that's why I like gauges rather than just lights for everything, because to me, the gauges you can monitor when things are when they're starting to go bad rather than when they're already bad. And I think of it like with the lights and warnings. What if your fuel gauge just flashed a light when you're just about out of gas? Well, that wouldn't do you much good. You gotta monitor it as it changes. So anyway, it was running a little, probably about 20 degrees hotter than what I would like it to have been. And so I turned the heater on all the way, which that's what they say you're supposed to do when you're overheating a little bit, right? Which wasn't all bad because it was kind of chilly. I think the thermometer in the car said the outside temperature was about 52 degrees at the time. Well, then as soon as I turned the heater on, it got a little bit worse. And I was thinking a little bit, it's like, oh yeah, I don't know what's going on here. I think my heater core has a pinhole leak in it. It's a 20-year-old Suburban, so I mean things happen after 20 years and a 250,000 miles, but which I don't think of it in the summertime, obviously. So with that coolant circulating through the heater core, that reduced the amount of coolant available to cool the engine, and it got a little warmer. So then I knew what was going on. So the next town I stopped in and bought some coolant at the Walmart. They were still open, fortunately. And by this time because the Walmart is only 20 minutes away, give or take. So I got my coolant, and as long as I was there, I was looking around. I ended up getting some other stuff that I probably didn't need, but oh well. So that ended up taking a while. So long story not as long. I guess it's not short anymore. I didn't get up here till 11 o'clock last night, so. And I'm recording this on Saturday afternoon. So. Yeah. I'm not sure when I'm going to get this posted. But because I don't have good enough internet up here that I can upload. So, and I'll be back by tomorrow sometime, so we'll see if I can get it uploaded by then. So I'll probably be uploading this Sunday evening, I'm guessing. So yeah, I didn't really actually tell you my thoughts on this 3-piece. I don't think. Maybe I did. But it's pretty good. I don't know if I'd say that this is a deep seller or not, but it's definitely one that I'll want to keep a couple of tins on hand. And this one, if I'm reading the code on the tin right, it's about a year old. So, and I think it's a Virginia based. Yeah, Virginia with burley, lightly cased. So maybe that's what that plum is that I smell on the tin note. But whatever it is, it's pretty decent. I'll have to compare it to that that Ken Byron venture. I'll have to do a first impression on that one too. Byronic Hero, I think is what it's called. That's a Virginia plug. That one's pretty good too. So anyway, yeah, we're running a little long again. So I'll probably call this good for now. We'll get this uploaded as soon as I get home, and hopefully you can have something to watch. It'll probably be late Sunday night before it gets uploaded, but maybe on Monday you can watch this. Anyway, Joshua Stewart, Pipe Up North. Have a good day.